Welcome to our next session, everyone. Alhamdulillah, Bismillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How are you guys doing? Those of you who attended the first talk, let me know in the chat how that was for you. What did you take away? What are you still thinking about? What impacted you? And what were you going to share with your friends, inshallah? I really want to know. Okay, so a bit of housekeeping, guys. Do me a favor. If you're on YouTube and you have not yet subscribed to the channel, just click the subscribe button. It's easy, it's free, and it's going to help us get to our goal of reaching 50,000, inshallah, by the end of the year, which is what? Tomorrow, midnight? I think we can do it. So if you're not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, help a sister out, inshallah. There is a ton of content on my YouTube channel, most of it to do with having honest conversations about marriage, with a host of guests, many of whom you'll be familiar with, others who will become like new favorites, I'm sure, inshallah. So please definitely take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Okay, that really helps for more people to be able to see the video as it's live, to see the live stream as it's going on. And we want more people to benefit, inshallah. We want as many people, we want thousands of people to benefit. MashaAllah, last year, thousands, hundreds of thousands, these videos for the successful, we called it the Successful Wives Conference last year, which was a fun game in itself. And alhamdulillah, we had literally, those videos have had hundreds and thousands of views since that time, mashallah. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, take a screenshot and share on Instagram or wherever else you are to show other people where you're at, and let them know that it's happening, it's live, and they can join too. All they need to do is come onto the YouTube channel and they are good to go. All right, so I am going to stop my screen. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and hope that you're all very well. Inshallah, those of you who've been at Jummah, may Allah accept your salah and all your du'as and all the good deeds, bi'idhnillah, from today. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts this gathering from us, makes it a gathering of khair, makes it a place where his name is mentioned, where his deen is honored, and where we remind each other and call each other to operate upon birr and taqwa. Okay, so we cooperate upon birr and taqwa. And these conferences are all about that. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. They are all about us cooperating along, with birr and taqwa, and helping, inshallah, the community to strengthen itself, to learn, to grow, to evolve in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to. So with no more ado, I'm going to open up the next session, inshallah. Sister Rosalind, you can come on camera. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Mariam. I hope you're well, inshallah. I'm going to put this, I want to make sure that everybody can see us in YouTube. I hope everyone can see everyone. But Sister Mariam, Sister Rosalind, welcome. Welcome to the conference. You guys are on day one, addressing a very, very topical, hot button issue. But before we dive into that, please, could you just introduce yourselves briefly and tell us who you are and what you do, inshallah?
Shall I go first, Naima?
Yes, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Rosalean Batool, and I'm a wealth hypnotist. I help female entrepreneurs, CEOs, awaken and cultivate their feminine energy so that they can have more purpose, profit, and pleasure in life. I run a multi-six-figure business online while raising 5 kids in the Gambia, and I've been happily married for nearly 4 years now, mashallah.
Mashallah, tabarakallah. What about you, Mariam?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khair, Sister Naima, for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and Sister Rosalie. I'm a marriage coach. I work with the framework of emotional intelligence in Syria. And my aim is to make women emotionally strong and confident, because I believe that that is what is attractive for a woman. And that's what's, a tool to build in healthy marriages. I focus a lot on communication and more on emotional intimacy and how that leads to physical intimacy. And I feel there is a lack of knowledge in this area. So my aim is to educate young adults, young women who are getting married and married women to work on this, because this is truly what's missing in our marriages these days. I do one-on-one coaching. I have a Thriving Wife Circle membership, which is like a community of wives. We come together, we become vulnerable. It's not a place where we crib about our husbands, but we take advice. We're like, okay, this is happening. What next? So this is what my aim is, to have that place for women to come and say, okay, I'm having this problem or I'm having this issue, how to move forward, how to go about it, inshallah.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Okay, fantastic. jazakAllahu khairan. So guys, you can see that we've got some really interesting perspectives and should I say skill sets with us here today to discuss this very, very, very meaty issue. So let's kick this off with defining what we mean by successful women. Okay, so in the context of this conversation, we're going to define success very narrowly. We're going to decide that the successful woman we're talking about, certainly in my comprehension, we are today talking about women who have succeeded in terms of their education, in terms of their career, in terms of business. Would you guys agree with that? We're all talking about the same archetype here?
Yes, definitely. So woman with degrees, woman has money, she has some form of status, she has a career, definitely.
Mariam, are you on board?
Yes, 100%.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so the reason I'm laughing in a kind of impish way is because, you know, Rosalean, right? You know why we're having this conversation. Mariam, you know why we're having this conversation, right? So, I mean, on my channel, I've talked about this numerous times, but for you, when you looked at this topic, what did you think immediately? What were your thoughts that came straight away? Were you excited? Were you nervous? You were like, oh my God, girl, go in there. What were your thoughts?
Okay, my thought was, number one, excitement. And secondly, I was like, I really want to talk about this because I feel like there's been such a massive misconstruing of what real success is, especially in the social media age, especially the woke feminism. So I'm really like learning more about red pill and the manosphere. And I really like, this is like a very important topic for young girls, especially.
MashaAllah. What about you, Mariam?
I thought it was a juicy one because you can have so many elements to it. And yet I was like, yes, this is what we need to speak, because I see a lot of people giving the example of Khadija radiallahu anha as a CEO. But what they miss is that she was the CEO, but how she provided that safe space for her husband. And this is what Thriving Wives is. We have a role model in our seerah, in our history, and we don't look on all the aspects. So when you said, I was like, yes, this is a good topic to talk about, because we have role models, actual role models, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. They were successful in every aspect, and we can learn from that, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, so let's kick this off with, I guess, why, some people are wondering, like, well, why would you think this is this controversial thing? Why would you even ask the question? And I know there will be some sisters who are like, well, why are we talking about this? Of course, a successful woman can be a good wife. Why is this a question? Why are we even having this conversation? Is it obvious that a successful woman can be a great wife? Or are there challenges that come with that career, financial status, success that make it a challenge for her to be? Oh, and in fact, before we go there, whoa, hey, back up. We talked about our definition of a successful woman, right? What is a good wife then? If we're asking about successful women being good wives, what's your understanding of a good wife? Because that will be something that people will be like, well, what do you mean when you say a good wife? So what do you think? How would you define a good wife?
Okay, so I would go with a good wife is someone who obviously clearly submits to Allah. She has a deep connection with Allah. Her first point of call is Allah for everything, right? Number one. But then let's look at character traits. I believe a good wife is submissive. She obeys her husband, and she's agreeable, she's respectful, and she's loyal to him. And I know these words, submission and obeying, really irks women, especially when you're now listen, I'm an independent woman. I've lived the independent life, so I know exactly what goes on in a woman when she's like, do I really need to submit to a man because I make my own money, right? And this is the reason why this conversation is needed, because we've been lied to. We've been lied to as women, saying that if you make your money, you get your degree, you have your education, you will attract a man who wants to protect and provide for you. And I'm not saying that's not possible. What I'm saying is men have a natural genetic code, the protecting and providing gene. So when you tell a man that I'm independent, I don't need a man, I'm successful as I am, you activate his protecting and providing gene against you. And this is the reason why women who are independent, they find it difficult to be with a man who wants to provide for them and protect them and be masculine with them, simply because they have this belief that being independent is what makes you successful. It may make you successful in the societal norms that we're in, but not when it comes to a marriage.
What about you, Mariam? What do you think? What's a good wife?
I agree with what Sister Rosalean said, and I would add something from my experience. Like it's been only 4 years that I've started working, and I've been married for 20 years, alhamdulillah. And I always had this mindset that if I'm going to work, my marriage will suffer because I will not be able to have a balance. And this is what even I was told when I started working on 4 years back. I was told that your marriage will suffer, your kids will suffer, you will not be able to balance everything. But this is wrong. And a woman can balance. And when she knows her priorities, when she knows that Allah is the center of everything, when she has self-discipline and healthy boundaries, and like what Sister Rosalean said, the man is the protector, the provider. The roles are not mixed up. She understands her role, the nurturer, the carer, and the husband's role as a provider and the protector. That is not mixed. That is a successful wife. That is a good wife. Alhamdulillah.
So are you saying then that your success, let's call it professional success, and use that as the kind of the catch-all for education, academic achievement, money, status, wealth, businesses, career, etc. Let's just call it your professional success. Are you saying then that your professional success is almost separate from your identity as a wife?
No, it's not. It's part of it, but you have to balance it. Like, you're wearing different hats.
Okay.
So if you're successful outside the house, you are successful inside the house as well, but as a role of a wife, in a role of a wife. Like,
okay, so you're agreeing with me that they are two different hats, basically. That one hat is okay, cool. Yeah. What about you, Rosalean? What do you think about that?
So the question was about the roles, right? Do we believe is the same or different?
Is professional success, because at the end of the day, we know the reason we're having this conversation in the community is that we know how many women, mashallah, have achieved success in their professional lives. This generation, probably more than any other generation, certainly in this country, many of our mothers who came from back home were not professionally successful. I would say the majority. Would you agree? Just give me a thumbs up if you'd agree. The majority of the women who came from back home, they were stay-at-home mothers if they could be, right? Obviously, if she's a widow, if there was a divorce, then she probably had to work somehow, some way. But even then, it typically wasn't like she was successful. She just had to work, right? So that generation, our mothers, so if we are like in our 30s and 40s, our mothers were more or less stay-at-home moms, especially in the Muslim community. So our generation is, I think, the first generation of women who are actually experiencing success at a large, to a very large extent. Doctors, lawyers, dentists, entrepreneurs, PhDs, all of it, right? So the question I was asking is, do you then think that, because what we tend to do is, obviously we work hard, don't we, to get through our education, to do well, to achieve. We work hard for that. So what happens, I think, for us as women is that becomes a part of our identity, and we feel that that's a part of what a man admires in us and what a man wants in us and what he prizes in us. The question I'm asking firstly is that true? Or is it, as I think what Mariam was saying, is that your work in the world as a professional is one hat and your wife work is a different hat? And to get balance, you have to be able to change hats. So, Rosalean, what are your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree with that. And so when I'm working in my business, like I run a company, multi-six figures, when I'm in that situation, when I'm running my business, giving my team what to do, I'm in my masculine role. I'm delegating, I'm making decisions, especially financial ones. I'm receiving cash, I'm spending money, I'm paying things, right? So I'm in my masculine role. When it comes to my husband, when my husband comes home, I surrender. I'm in my femininity. I'm being the woman that he needs. I'm being that woman that is his safe space, his warmth, right? So I'm not making decisions in my home. I'm not trying to lead him. I'm not trying to compete with him. I see no competition at home. He leads, he makes the decisions, I submit to him, I obey him, and I enjoy doing it. So I feel like what happened is we saw our mothers going through hardship, and we thought they are being traumatized. And I see this a lot. I hear this conversation a lot, that our mothers put up with a lot, right? And props to them. My mom, she was a single mom. She raised 6 kids by herself. My dad was a polygynous man. He had 3 wives. I have 15 brothers. So my mom had to be in that situation where she had to submit to the role that she's in. But the thing is, my mom enjoyed it. And I think this is a thing that I don't see being talked about a lot.
So did you misread that? Sorry, sis. I just want to ask. So did you misread her life, or maybe not misread, but do you feel that we tend to look at our mothers and maybe previous generations of women through a lens that is a modern lens, which is probably more of a feminist lens, and then we see trauma, abuse, oh, it wasn't fair? Would you say that?
Right. Yes, definitely. Now, I'm going to put the clause here that, of course, abuse is bad. But for my mom, she genuinely loved being a mom. I remember my mom telling me, she was like, the greatest success I've had is having you children. That's how I see myself as successful. So I already had that in my mind growing up, that being a mom makes you successful. Leading the next generation, raising, like, I'm Muslim now, I wasn't born Muslim, but raising Muslim children is legacy. Your job, your career, your money is not going to come with you when you die. Your deeds will, and your children are part of that. So for me, success outside in the world is for the world. It's for, I guess, for women, it's for their passion, to keep them, to keep the passion alive in their lives. But in your marriage, the success is how you can cultivate the safety, how you can nurture the home. I feel that's more successful in the home.
So this is interesting, right? Because you know how many I have heard, as you say, so many women saying, my mom put up with so much, my mom just stayed with my dad, she didn't do this, she didn't do that, she put her life on hold, etc. And of course they disagree with their mother's choices and feel that their mother should have done otherwise. And I wonder how many of us owe our current success to our mother's sacrifice.
Oh yeah.
How
100%.
many of us would be who or where we are today if our mother had pushed back, left, rebelled, whatever, right? Whatever other options, or gone out to work for that matter, gone back to school and done her own thing, whatever the case may be. I don't think we think about that enough. I think we tend to think that I would have been the same as I am now, but at least my mom would have had a life. But have you ever stopped to think that maybe the fact that you had the grounding you had, the stability you had, the family home you had, the meals you had, or the constant attention or presence of your mother, you got that because she sacrificed, and now you're judging her for her sacrifice? I don't know, it's weird to me.
Exactly. Naomi, you hit the nail on the head. You know me, the woman I am today, I owe it to Allah, first of all, but to my mom. The way my mom was, the way my mom raised me was, yes, to be successful. She did raise me to be successful, to go for it, to live your dreams. But she should always say to me, I love being a mom. Like, she had her issues. She was a single mom. She had to figure it out. But she said she would not have it any other way. And of course, like, that's a testimony. That's a legacy that she left behind. She left children behind who are going to carry on her legacy. And I find that more successful than just making money.
What about you, Mariam?
Yes, definitely. I am like this over here, sitting in front of you, is because of my mother. Her upbringing, her tarbiyah, her sacrifice, her giving up her career. She was a career woman, but obviously after the kids, she gave up. So I am who I am. It's because of her. And I cannot even do what she did for my kids, I miss that. I cannot, like, I'm like, okay, the house should smell like my mom's house, full of aroma. And I cannot do that. I miss that. And this is something I want to learn. And I'm like, how did she do it without any help, without any family near her. She did everything. She made sure that her kids were raised with values, with roots, even though we were away from our country. She made sure that we remembered our culture. So that is success. And I am a wife, a mom, a businesswoman. Alhamdulillah, it's because of her. If she wouldn't have done it, I wouldn't be here. Alhamdulillah.
And it's subhanAllah, I agree. I think that's so profound. And, you see, again, I think one of the reasons we struggle with this is that, in the society that we live in, achievement for a woman is always individualistic. It's always about her individual actualization, right? And the narrative is, it doesn't matter what the price is. It doesn't matter who suffers or who misses out, as long as that woman crushes it. And you see it all the time, right? Because you'll see people being lionized and being kind of put on this pedestal because they've done this and they've done that and they've done this and they've done that, even though, because maybe they've admitted it, or because the kids have come out afterwards to say, like, living with my mom was hell, or I never saw my mom, or I never knew my mom, or I was raised by nannies. Do you know what I mean? We had everything materially, but there's attachment issues, there's resentment there. There's so much other stuff that they don't talk about. The price of that woman who, in this case, we're talking about women who have children, right? The price of that woman's single-minded pursuit of that goal. And again, Rosalind, you mentioned about being in our masculine, right? And I agree with you. I think through school and through work and business and the career, we are in our masculine, right? Especially if we're crushing it. I mean, it's Grant Cardone in the place, right? It's all this testosterone. It's go, go, go. It's achievement. It's winning. Very masculine energy, right? So how can a woman who is used to being in her masculine and is crushing it in her masculine, how can she relax into her feminine? Is it possible? If so, how?
Yes, it's definitely possible. I do it all the time. So then the magic words are, I get to do this. So when I'm finishing at my desk, so I only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's the times that I'm a CEO. I let my kids know, listen, mommy's going to be the CEO now. I'm still here for you, but I'm spending time at work. And I'm going to work. I'm going to come back and we're going to spend some time together. So I make the boundaries clear with my children. So I'm the CEO. When I'm the CEO and I finish, I close my laptop, close my phone, and say, I get to be a wife. I get to be a mom, alhamdulillah. How amazing is it that I'm a wife and a mom and a CEO? I get to choose and I get to have it all. Allah has given me this gift. Allah has given me this blessing, and I'm going to utilize it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to be so grateful for it. And this is how I shift. So I make sure I have clear boundaries, because usually what it is, when we are working and we have to shift, the guilt comes up just naturally as women. We feel guilty. Okay, I want to do this. I'm working on my business. And now I feel guilty that I'm not spending time with my children and my husband. Now my husband, he runs his business. He's a civil engineer. He works like 7 to 7. So I don't really see him all day until in the evening. But for me, it was the mom guilt that came up a lot. Like, am I being a good mom? Will my kids hate me? Will they not love me? But the more I communicate with them and say to them, listen, children, like, I love you guys. I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait to finish work and come back and talk to you. And we're going to spend some time together. That usually helps.
MashaAllah. Mariam, I know that you've dealt with this as ladies in your groups, and maybe personally as well. What's your perspective? How can you switch from the masculine to feminine? Is it possible?
Yes, definitely. For me, healthy boundaries, the timing. Like for me, 4 o'clock, I switch off in the evening. Because I homeschool, so kids are always with me. I'm schooling them and all. But 4 o'clock, I switch off completely. My phone, my emails, everything goes to the next day. And that's when I take rest. I kind of prepare myself for my husband to come home. Because now, mashallah, my kids are growing up. They don't need me that much. They don't need me emotionally. So that I do at bedtime or morning time or breakfast time. That's allocated to my kids whenever they need me. But when my husband comes, my kids knows that Baba is going to come home. And we don't need to disturb Mama and Baba. Before 1 hour.
It's Mama and Baba time. That's so cute. MashaAllah.
My son comes in and he's like, can I watch this show with you? I'm like, no, Baba, you cannot. This is Mama Baba's time. He's like, but this is
Wow.
for kids. I can see it. Yes, it's for kids, but this is Mama Baba's time. So, making clear to the kids that yes, you can watch, but this is Mama Baba's time. And you need to respect that.
SubhanAllah. So what you're talking about is not even just like sort of putting the work to the side for the sake of the kids, but it's also putting work and kids aside for the sake of the husband. I want to talk about this a little bit because I did a podcast with Sister Neha, mashallah, fantastic podcast. We had a great conversation. And one of the things I said to her is that in our community, I think it's partially acceptable now online, in online spaces, for a woman to make some kind of sacrifice for her children, right? That's considered natural. Like, most of us have to do it at some point or another. But for a woman to prioritize her husband and actually say, I'm not going to do that because my husband, whatever, right? My husband would prefer me not to, my husband's coming home, or I've planned such and such with my husband. It's almost like a taboo now. Like you would never say that because everyone will be like, what? I don't know. Do you agree that this is that like, there is this kind of like, oh, what's a husband? What's he supposed to, like, what does he deserve? Like, like he's a grown man. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it is. You have to pamper him. You have to make him feel like a king. And I say, why not? Allah has blessed you with a husband. Yes, he's got his flaws. You have your flaws. Everyone has their weaknesses, but look at the positives. And I tell my ladies, when your husband comes home, make him feel like a king. Dress up for him. Make the house smell nice. That he's tired. He's coming home from work. Welcome him and appreciate him. And the ladies were like, how do we appreciate a husband? I'm like, did you say that jazakAllahu khair? And then one of the ladies was like, I haven't said it in a long time.
SubhanAllah,
And
wow.
I was like, did you say, I love you? She's like, no.
Wow.
Marriage? I'm like, yes. After marriage, it's halal. You cannot stop flirting with your husband. And he cannot stop dating. You have to. And it's not about going out on date nights. I understand you have small kids, you have certain things that you cannot go out on date night. You can have it in your home. And I tell my ladies, make your homes your rooms, your love cottage, and pamper him, nourish him. And that's what a wife is supposed to do. So if you're not going to switch off from your work or from your responsibilities, you cannot do that. So preparing yourself before he comes home, resting, taking care, self-care, is very important for you to be able to give it to him.
I love that. This is so good. Rosalean, come on, put some spice on it, some salt, some more salt. That's so good.
So I wanted to add this as well. And I love what Mariam just said. Like, do as women, it reminded me of this. When I first met my husband, I asked him, what's your dreams? What's your big vision? What's the vision that you have for your life? And he said to me, his big vision was to have a big family. And it's just coming to a point of what Mariam said about, being appreciative of your husband, like he's a blessing. For me, when I asked my husband that question, what's your vision? I realized I'm able to take on his vision. I'm able to support him in it. And I know that I'll be able to help him, nurture him, love on him through his vision. And I think it's like a big thing that us women don't do with men. Like we think about what our man can give us, but what can we give them towards their dreams? Goals, the vision, how can you fit in that? That's what came up for me.
Yeah. And subhanAllah, again, just as we were saying that it's considered kind of culturally acceptable to make sacrifices or prioritize your kids, but less so to prioritize your husband. That's another thing as well. This idea of bringing something to the table, right? Now, I came across an old post from a sister. I don't know how old it was, but quite old. And she had echoed this sentiment that if someone asks me, what do I bring to the table? I'm going to tell them I am the damn table. Okay. And there's an old post. I think this is before we started actually having these conversations openly. But the idea of bringing value to a man's life, how do you feel about that? I mean, is that a question that women should be asking? And let's just, as always, disclaimer, this applies to you if you have a decent man. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have an abusive situation, if you're being neglected or anything crazy, guys, don't bring craziness to the chat, please. Okay. And don't get triggered if your situation is crazy and actually needs to be dealt with. We're not talking about those situations. We're not out here telling you to be the perfect wife to somebody who is, you know, is not even doing the bare minimum according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please, let's stay focused to those who have a decent situation, right? So should we be thinking of how we can bring, because what you're saying is that you want to be of value to your husband with regards to his mission and his vision. Is that right?
Right, because the masculine is to lead, right? So where are we all going? Where are you like driving the ship? Because I'm on board. And for my husband to have a big family, he's polygynous. He's a polygynous man. He wants lots of children. And I was like, can I handle that? And I was like, yeah, I can handle that. I can handle him being polygynous because I was raised in polygyny. My husband and my dad had 3 wives, so I understood polygyny from a young age. And also I understand the nature of men is just to spread their seed, and they're naturally polygynous by nature. So being part of his vision was like, okay, I can support you in that. And for him, I asked him, how do you need support in that? He said, just to be agreeable, you know, be loyal and respectful. And that's the value I bring to my husband. I don't try and compete with him in money. I don't try and compete with him in decisions. I'm the one who's saying to him, babe, what shall we do? You're the leader here. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you to make the decision. And just putting him into that role and understanding his role as a man in my life, as the masculine in my life, has helped bring value to his life. So I think for us women, we have to realize our value is in our femininity. How much we lean back, how much we surrender, how much we submit, and how much we obey. I think that's where the key thing is. And there's no, again, disclaimer, this is not for abusive relationships. This is for a decent man who fears Allah, who's trying his best. You need to ask yourself, the value I bring, is it going to help his mission? Do I want to be part of the mission? Do I want to be under his leadership? Do I trust this man to take us where he needs to go? And that's the big question that I think a lot of us don't ask. We just think, oh, because I make money, I have a degree, I have a job, I'm taking care of myself, that's the value I bring. But men naturally don't like that. Men, like I said, the protector and provider gene is activated the moment you say I'm independent. They just think in their mind, well, she doesn't need me.
You don't need me, okay. Right? Yeah.
Let me just fall back.
Go ahead, Mariam.
100% with what Sister Rosalean said. And I would say this, that, you know, the woman, if she has the confidence in herself, her self-esteem is like the next level, she can inspire, she can motivate, she can change the mindset, she can help her husband succeed so much just by inspiring, not by saying anything. Because this question comes to me a lot, that my husband is not on deen, how can I help my husband to come and pray or follow the deen the way I am doing? And I always say, you're not his mother, you are his wife. You be the one who has that immense confidence so that you become attractive, just in an emotional way, not only in a sexual way, but in an emotional way, that he gets inspired and he says, okay, she is doing something and this is calling me, this is positive, let me try it. Because it happens. It has happened, alhamdulillah, in my marriage. And I have seen this in my clients also. And the most difficult part for women to let go of this is their ego. It's like, why? Why, if he's not doing something the way they want, they're like, why is he not doing it? I'm like, let it be. He's his own human being. You have to accept him as a man who's grown up. You cannot change him. You can inspire him. You can motivate him. You can be the backbone. You're the backbone of the family.
Yeah.
But you can lead from behind as well. Allah's watching. The reward is from Allah. You know, I feel we want validation, women, as like, I'm the one who's doing it. And that kind of mixes in. But when you are grounded that my reward is from Allah, all my actions, my intentions are for Allah, and my reward is from Allah, you will see how your marriage will change, how your husband will actually turn around and come back to you and ask you that, okay, I need help in this decision making, can you help me? And you're like, what just happened? My man would never come to me, he would never ask me or even tell me about financial situations. But now he's opening up to me. because you have given him a chance. So woman has that capacity to motivate and inspire the man. Alhamdulillah.
SubhanAllah. I think jazakAllahu khairan for that. And it's, mashallah, the ladies in the chat here y'all are teaching today. I love this. This is so raw. This conversation is so good. Wonderful. So Sis says, as a single mother working full-time as a nurse, I was operating fully in my masculine. I am now a housewife and love it, but it took major reprogramming to operate in my femininity. It's layered, but it was so hard trying to operate between the two effectively. I think it is like a tough act to kind of be like this kind of, really kind of alpha out there and then kind of come home and be sweet. But I think another thing as well that we need to remember, again, as Muslims, we have the blueprint, right? Which is really, really helpful, because we know within the marriage that there's a hierarchy in terms of responsibility, right? Let's be clear, we're talking about responsibility here, because there was a reel that went out today where I was talking about when a man is basically having to try and prove himself to the woman that he wants. And my advice is that a man should marry a woman who thinks that he's great. That's what I think. I think the power dynamic in a relationship where a woman sees the man as, oh my God, yes, like yes, or let's make this more nuanced, where the woman has come to the conclusion that having this man in my life is a blessing. I am blessed to have this man in my life for whatever reason. I think that helps her to be in her feminine with him. But do you guys agree? Do you think that, because other people were saying, well, that's not right. Like because I was saying that Hollywood tells us that it's the man's job to cater to the woman and to please her and make sure that she's happy. Whereas the deen puts a lot of emphasis on you as a woman pleasing your husband, right? And then people saying, aren't we supposed to please and cater to each other? And I don't think it's the same. I think what the man is required by the deen to give to his wife is not the same as what the woman is required to give to the man. Am I wrong?
I agree, 100%. I want to derive a hadith, and it just came to my mind. When Khadija radiallahu anha, when she was about to serve the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his soup, and Angel Jibreel came down and said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tell Khadija, she's about to come to you with some soup, tell her Allah sends his salams. Now, I want you to understand the connotation here that Khadija radiallahu anha was wealthy, but in that moment, she was serving her husband. And in that moment, Jibreel came down and he said, send the salams, send salams from Allah. And she's got a place in Jannah. Ladies, I want you to understand like the gravity of this. Like it really gives me goosebumps to think that she knew her place. Like she's wealthy in the world. She had many people who wanted to marry her, but she chose the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam simply based on honesty. He was honest when she said to him, when she mentioned that she wants to marry him. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "I'm poor. What can I give her?" He was honest. He didn't say, yeah, I've got 20 camels. Let me try and figure. No, he just said, I'm poor. So
he didn't try and finesse her, you mean? No.
Right, exactly. He can impress her. And it's about building your relationship on honesty. And another thing that came to mind was throughout the whole their marriage, when he used to go to the cave to meditate, and he had a vision. His vision was he wants to change the corruption of society. He used to meditate on it, think about people worshiping idols, like people not caring for the orphans. He used to think about this. So he had something in him that he wants to change that. When the angel came to him and he ran to Khadija radiallahu anha, she didn't say to him, oh, okay, get up, like, you're a man, come on, man. Like she said to him, Allah will never disgrace you. Right. And this is what Hollywood teaches us, that if the man is not always a man, and he's not like, he's always just acting like a man, he's so aggressive and stuff, that's what you should look for in a man, or a man who's going to be constantly buying you gifts and showering you with love with gifts.
That's the one women want, by the way. That's the one. Not so much the first one, but that second one there, the guy, who is just like at your feet in adoration, giving you all that you want, fulfilling all your dreams, buying you whatever you want, going wherever you want to go. That is apparently the ideal guy.
And then you have a child, right? Because then you become the mother in that relationship, because the child is admiring you now, and you're the admiration, and that's not the dynamic you want in a relationship. You want honesty, you want that to be duty, and you want your husband to understand his role.
I just want to just jump on this thing here, because I've asked this this came up on the Fair Income podcast, because from what I know, guys, you know me on this channel, I've talked about simping before, okay? And I make no bones about that. What is simping? Simping is investing time, energy, and resources in someone, or a woman specifically, who does not appreciate or deserve it. So in a situation where the man is constantly kind of trying to prove his love, right? And he's being kind of put through these tests to say, get me this, get me that. I want to go here. I want to go there. Get us this. I want to be like so-and-so. I want to do that. And he does it every single time. How does that impact the woman's respect level for him? Like after that's been happening for a while, because he's doing it in order to be the love of her life, right? He wants these actions that she's telling him she wants to result in what he wants, which is a wife who is loving and loyal, right? Is that how it works from your experience?
No.
Farida says it diminishes. Mariam, what do you say? Do you think is that the equation? Do everything your wife wants and she will be loving and loyal forever? Talk to that.
No. In my opinion and my experience, the husband loses respect for the wife. They just grow apart, and they might be living under the same roof, raising their kids, but they will be living like a roommate.
SubhanAllah.
Because the wife is never satisfied. She wants the worldly pleasures. She wants things that are going to satisfy her only from the outside. The husband is tired of just giving and giving and giving. He's not getting what he wants. So both are unsatisfied. Wow. So the respect will be lost. This will push them to move away from each other instead of coming close to each other. Because submitting and fulfilling each other's emotional needs is what brings you closer.
And the emotional need that we know we have as women is to feel safe, right? Is to feel safe. And if your man is weak, how can you be safe? If he is a pushover, how can you feel safe, right? And this is, I guess, it's a conversation that I think men will appreciate, but I would like women to hear this as well, right? Because a lot of the time as women, we end up talking in echo chambers where it's only women's stories and women's perspectives that are being shared, and women, we tend to, we tend to like back each other up, right? But what I like about this space is that we're being very honest, and I think we're being balanced as well. We are talking about what we know from a woman's side and from the man's side, and women need to know how men think, just like men need to know how women think, right? But Rosalean, what are your thoughts on that, about the weakness and the desire and the respect? How does it all work?
Right, definitely. Just like you mentioned, that women, we look towards our man to protect and provide for us. So if he's constantly doing everything without doing what we say, then we end up becoming the man in the relationship, like subconsciously. I want to talk about the subconscious well here, that men who want to like simp, they usually have mommy issues. And what's happening is you've attracted a woman who has daddy issues. So you're both trying to figure out and trying to heal yourself through the things that you're doing for each other. So you're overgiving because you have to overgive to your mom to get her love. And then the woman is asking for too much because she never got that attention from her dad. So when you heal those two issues, usually what happens is either you leave each other or you end up growing together. But definitely as women, like being able to manipulate your man, you are testing his strength and you're knowing that he's not masculine enough for you.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned about actually, I've seen a comment on YouTube that just sparked a thought, because when you are a professionally successful woman, you typically have a lot of skill sets, right? You have skill sets with regards to finance, marketing, planning, project management, etc. And I think that potentially is one of the areas that can be a source of contention in the marriage, because he feels, as a Muslim man, most Muslim men know they are meant to lead, right? And they assume when they get married, they are going to lead. Now, if he chose a woman who has that professional success, or if he does not choose a sister because of her professional accolades, can we say that is because he fears that there is going to be a clash of authority, that she's going to be pushing back, that she's going to be arguing, she's going to be wanting to be like make decisions with him or always challenge his decisions. Is that a valid fear that men may have?
I think it is, because when women...
Or concern, let's use the word concern so we don't upset anyone. A valid concern.
Yeah. Because I think for men, they associate education with being unagreeable. I think that's what it is. And that's a valid concern, because when women, the feminist movement was to get women out of the home and into the world, the capitalist world, and make money. And they did that through education. And men have gone through the education system and they've seen women and how they operate in the world is very masculine. So when you come with your accolades and you come with your degrees and you come with your money, they are naturally going to, like I said, the protect and provider gene is going to turn on, and they'll be like, I don't need to protect her, I don't need to provide for her because she has everything she needs. So
and the thing is, and the thing is, what's crazy is I hear sisters saying stuff like that, like online, especially like young sisters as well, unmarried sisters saying, I'm strong, I'm independent, I don't need no man, no man's going to tell me this. Sis, you are a waving red flag right now. I'm just going to tell you. And if you do actually hope to marry a Muslim at some point who has any izzah, just a man who has any izzah, don't put that stuff out on social media, please. Don't get people excited about, like, yeah, that I know that's right. That's it. And that's on period. You see in the comments, like everybody's like, yay. No, guys, no. Unless, go on.
Right? Especially when you get married. If you want to get married, you have to learn the language of the person you're going to marry, which is a man. You have to understand the language of a man, right? We understand our language as much as possible because we're women. But when you are going to get married to a man, you're not taking on a child, you're taking on a human being. He's a masculine, and you have to respect his role in your life. So again, when it comes to like independence, we've been taught this very misconstrued conception that independence means you can be disrespectful towards men now. Your education means you can be disrespectful towards men now. Your money means you can be disrespectful towards men now. I think that's where the clash happens.
Yeah. Well, you need to be right. You have to have a say on everything, So just like that kind of, and and again, I think there's part of it is the professional stuff. The other is feminism, because feminism basically problematizes all masculine behavior. So if a man tries to explain something, he's mansplaining. If he tries to protect you or offers to do something for you, he's chauvinistic and he's saying that you can't do it. If he gets jealous about something, it's his toxic masculinity coming out. You know what I mean? If he doesn't want a boss babe, he's insecure. Mariam, talk to that.
Right?
Yes, I was going to say that it goes both ways. Some men like women like that who are in that element, who are energetic and who have all these feminism. They come with the accolades and success and money, but that man is strong. And that man knows how to be the provider and the caretaker for the woman. And that woman is comfortable being under the man. So it goes both ways. If one is out of balance, then it affects the relationship. So having those conversations before the marriage and having that mindset, open mindset, I would say that, okay, he's a man, I'm getting into a relationship. It's new. Relationship needs work. It needs vulnerability. I need to develop trust and friendship first. And it's going to take time. It's not like, okay, he's not listening to me, I want out. No, you have to have sabr. You have to have patience because you are developing a relationship. It doesn't happen overnight. So yes, men like successful women as long as it doesn't overpower him. And I agree with you that a lot of young ladies are saying that I'm independent. I don't need a man. Why do I need to get married and get sucked into all those in-laws and all those things? This narrative needs to change. A man is a woman's pride and honor. We have to take that. Like I say it, that my husband is my mentor. My husband is my blessing. No matter how many fights we have, whatever, but I am here because of him. And he is my honor and my pride. So we have to have that, like a crown, But why not? I say, why not? He's a blessing. He is doing so much. Maybe he's not able to provide you financially, all those things which you are craving for, but he's giving you something else. So look for what he's giving you rather than what's missing. It goes both ways. Both the men and the women need to be secure, confident when they come into a relationship, because that's how they're going to make an impact on the next generation. Inshallah.
100%. And I want to address the issue of when women will say, my husband's not a leader, right? He doesn't take decisions. He doesn't make decisions. He expects me to do everything. We hear this, guys. We're not going to sugarcoat it, okay? Because we hear the whole spectrum, right? And I would like to, at this point, just touch on the issue of the mother-son relationship. Because from what I've seen in the conversations that I've had, often a man who is not in his masculine in that sense and is not able or willing to lead in his relationship, something happened with his mother or his father. So his father was either distant or absent, right? And he was from a family with a very strong, overbearing mother who somehow, some way managed to emasculate him. So he himself is not a fully fledged man. Maybe he didn't see it in his father, or his mother managed to love it out of him. I like to say, how mothers can smother it out of them. Let's talk a little bit, because why I bring this up is because we know, generationally, this generation will have the largest number of men and women raised in single mother households, right? And that does have an impact. It has an impact on girls and it has an impact on boys. But for the sake of this conversation, so we're talking about leading and masculinity. What do you think about how mothers, especially mothers who don't have a masculine in their life, so they're not married, right? How can they, even if there is one, how can they avoid emasculating their sons? How can they avoid stunting their son's development into a man who can lead and inspire his wife's confidence and trust?
Oh, this is such a good question, Naima. And so I used to be a single mom, and I was raising my son. My son is 10 years old now. And one thing I learned with my son was that when they're younger, the boys, they will emulate you as a woman. Right? It's just natural in them. All kids do that. They don't realize their role until around age of 7. So for my son, when I started realizing he's acting like he's like being emotional, like he's being too much in his feelings, I had to give him the talk. And I had to realize that, Yaqub, you're a boy. It doesn't matter how you feel, you have to go and do it. I know you don't feel like waking up to pray Fajr, but feelings are not facts. And I had to be very harsh with him, even to the point when he used to cry. But listen, cry it out. It's cool. But you get back up again and be a man. And I've always taught my son is that being a man is an honor. Like I always made him realize that he's going to transition from boy to a man very early, and he's going to take on the role of being responsible for his wife, for his children, for his sisters. He's going to have a huge responsibility. But I had to make it known to him that feelings are not facts. And this is what I've noticed. With
And
men
feelings
who are
change.
like,
and feelings change.
Right.
And you can change your own feelings as well.
Exactly. So like with my husband, mashallah, about it, he has a great relationship with his mom. His mom is not overbearing. His father is very successful. His father was always away, but he had that constant thought and that constant discipline from his mom that I don't care about your feelings. Let's carry on. And that's just how you have to raise boys. You have to raise boys to still do it. It's duty. You have a duty to protect, provide. This is your duty. I know you don't feel like doing it, but this is duty. Allah's given you this duty as a man. And you can say in the most loving way, you don't have to be like aggressive, but lovingly explain to them their role as a man. I think that really helps.
Oof, that's a tough one, boy, because I know that mums with their sons, you know what we're like. We had a live stream actually about how can mothers raise men. And, we had some very honest people coming in the conversation and saying like what his dad can do with him. I can't, I struggle, the kind of no nonsense duty, as you said, it doesn't matter how you feel, you got to get it done, persevere, discipline, etc. Mothers find it hard with their sons. But Mariam, what's your perspective on this?
My son has my, the soft corner. He gets away with everything. But that was when he was small. As he's growing up, I can see that, yes, it's a challenge for me. And, but what I'm doing, and I pray this is beneficial for other ladies as well, is like, you know, making dua. Firstly, making dua that, Ya Allah, grant me mentors that I can give to my son, provide me that platform that I can give to my son, so that he looks up to somebody and he grows up with that. Because I know even some married women are there and their fathers are not involved. They don't like to be involved. So what do you do? So you have to have those mentors around. Or if there is a grandparent or an uncle, get him close to them. Then, you know, you as a mother, you'll have to teach him both the sides. Like the softer side, feeling the emotions, respecting the woman in the house, and opening the door for the woman, pulling the chair. If the woman is not feeling well, going and asking, doing the house chores, that side, and plus as well as the decision, the responsibilities. When he's small, giving him house chores, okay, this is your responsibility. Groceries need to come, put in the fridge, your responsibility. You are like that. And those things add on. You can add on as he's growing up, you can give him more responsibilities, and then boundaries. That if this is not done, I'm sorry, this is the boundary. There
has to be consequences. We have to, and moms, we have to man up, man. Like seriously, mom's got to man up. You know, it's I think what I realized for myself after my children's father passed away, Allah yarhamu, is my mothering instinct is to nurture, to protect, you know, to make everything okay. So I'm that mom that will sit with you the day before your project is due and do the project with you, so that you don't get into trouble at school, and so that you don't, you know, you don't go to school empty-handed and all the rest of the consequences, right? But I know instinctively that the father's approach would be, why did you leave it to the last minute? Now you have to take the consequence, and now you're just gonna have to wear it, right? So it does take a lot of discipline for us as mothers even to not overprotect and cover for them and protect them from the consequences of their actions. I think that that's a really big part of it. And then I think the other thing as well is, like you said, Mariam, giving the boys increased responsibility in line with the freedom, right? Because I think just because of their makeup, boys will eventually have more freedom necessary, like, you know, and you have to, because you can't like keep a boy under you all the time in the house. We always say this, right? I used to think it was sexist, actually. I used to think that it was chauvinistic to say that. I used to think you're just making excuses because you want to be on the women, on the girls. But I think that there is something to be said by the fact that you're going to be a man, son. You're going to be a husband, inshallah, you're going to be a father, and your family is going to look to you to protect them and lead them and figure stuff out. You might as well start learning how to figure stuff out now and like make your way in the world. Like boys have to make their way in the world, right? They have to go and become men. Girls, there isn't that much of that. Certainly if we're talking about the roles within a marriage, a girl doesn't have to go and make her way in the world to be a good wife, but a man, a boy has to make his way in the world to be a good husband. Would you say that that's the case?
Yes, 100%.
100%. I agree with that. Like women are born with value, men have to earn it.
Yeah.
So women are born with that value. They're born with their beauty. And that's what makes them attractive to the opposite gender. And men have to work for their value. So a man knows that if he talks too much, he's gonna end up in a fight with someone. But women, like we're emotional, we know that someone's gonna cater to us. So definitely, I think for boys, like you have to speak to that protecting and providing nature of them. And boys have it. Like my son has it with his sisters. Very protective of them. So you have to like just awaken it within them and say, oh wow, I love the way you protect your sisters. I love the way you do your responsibilities. I love the way you do your chores. Yeah.
And that appreciation needs to be ingrained in the girls as well. Can I just say, because I've seen instances where, because we're trying to kind of swing the pendulum the other way from what we maybe saw growing up, where boys were catered to and the girls had to serve their brothers and the girls did all the housework and the boys did absolutely nothing, right? Maybe. So we want to swing it the other way. And we're like, no, he has to do it himself. So if he asks his sister to do something, the instinctive response is do it yourself. And I think that there is a danger of pushing it to the other extreme where your daughters feel no sense of gratitude to their brothers, or maybe in your home, your brothers, the boys don't actually do things that the girls would be grateful for, right? So my son, I remember mahram duty is a big deal in our house because we take taxis, and I don't send the girls on their own in a taxi. So either I'll take them or I'll ask my son. And at one point he started to get annoyed by it, right? Because he was like, oh, again, you know, like, bleh. And then I noticed that he had stopped giving me any pushback. And I asked him, I said, you know, I've noticed that every time I ask you to take the girls now, you just say, okay, and you go. And I want to thank you for that. Firstly, I really appreciate it. But why? How come you're not giving pushback anymore? Because it's only 16. And he said, you know, I see it as part of my mahram duty. Like, I'm the man of the house. I'm the boy here. That's part of my job. That's part of my role. So I just decided to just accept that and roll with it. And I was like, thank you, son. Barakallahu feek. This is very good. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. But okay, so mums, we've given you guys some advice. I want to talk to what you just said about men, you know, having to come into that value, right? And especially, I think we can say when it comes to marriage, a woman is not the woman who's married for 4 things, right? Her beauty, her lineage, her wealth, and her deen. You don't have to go out and strive really for any of those. You just have them by the time you're, you know, 18, 20, whatever. You have those things. Whatever family you've come from, that's where you came from. Whatever money you have, whether it's yourself or your family, that's what you have. Your beauty, mashallah, you have it in abundance. You're married at that point. But a boy does not get married just because of his beauty or his wealth. Well, wealth is good. No, wealth is, we like the wealth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, you know, ar-rijal qawwamuna 'ala nisa. So he has to have the skills of leadership that an 18-year-old typically does not have. He has to have some life experience first. He has to have taken on some responsibility. He has to have made his way in the world in order to have a family, whereas a woman doesn't have to do that. So if we're talking about, just so we are even-handed here, if we're talking about the burden of performance that is on men, because the whole issue of successful women and whether they make good wives is the issue of competition, right? Is she going to, firstly, successful women want successful men. Wealthy women typically want a man who has the same or more as than she does, right? An educated woman typically wants a man who has the same level of education or more. That's the hypergamy, right? This is part of the issue that we are having at the moment in the Muslim community, because by the time a lot of women have reached the stage where they have a master's, where they've got, you know, money and career, etc., maybe they've put off marriage, they're 26, 27, on their way to 30. By that time, the men who have the same status or more are often already married, and they married somebody younger. So let's talk about how men can qualify, if you like, for the women that they want, any woman that they want, right? Because as you said, Rosalean, both of you and we've been saying, women are looking for a leader. Women are looking for a provider, a protector, somebody who makes them feel safe, someone that they feel safe submitting to. But that puts a burden on performance on the man. He has to show up as his best self. He has to develop himself, right? He can't just come out at 19 and say, I'm ready, ladies, come and get me. And any woman is going to just like say, okay, yes, I'll submit to you. So what are the qualities that we would like to encourage our sons and the men in our lives to work towards, to aspire to, in order for them to be able to lead their wives, no matter how successful they are?
Oh God, this is such a good question. So the main thing that came up for me, I'm looking at the Prophet ﷺ and Khadija radiallahu anha, and I mentioned before about how he takes his responsibilities as a man. Does he accept them with honor? Does he accept them with gratitude? Does he accept them with, like, he understands the gravity of what he's meant to do in this world with his wife? Or does he think that it should just be given to me? Like, you should just submit to me because I'm a man. And those kind of men, like, they haven't earned their value. You know that they haven't earned their value because just saying to you, I'm a man, you're a woman, you submit to me. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for a man who can be honest. So I can only relate to my experience, like when I met my husband, and he told me honestly his life, like what he's been through, what he's experienced, and I had to make the decision about whether I will accept that, and I did. I accepted him where he's at, and I was like, I can work with this because I understood his vision. His vision is legacy. His vision, he has a vision. This is a big thing for men. Men, you have to have a vision. If you want your woman to submit to you, you have to have a vision that makes sense, that it covers all areas of life, protection, maintaining, providing. It covers those aspects, and you have to be firm in it. Like, you can't be the type of person that will jump ship just because of that your wife is feeling emotional. You have to be like the tree, firm. Like, no, this is a decision. I'm down with it. I know I'm responsible. And I'm willing to go down with the ship. That's just how I am. And I think when you own your masculinity, when you figure out who you are, you work with your own traumas, you work with your own belief system, I believe you can accept your role as a masculine, and you will attract the right woman, especially a successful woman. Like, you will attract a woman who wants to submit to you because she can understand your vision. So I guess with women who are successful, they want to subscribe to a vision that's bigger than theirs.
Oof, that's a tough one, girl. You're asking a lot, mate. Some of us got some crazy visions. But can I just say though, let's contextualize this, right? Because I think it's really, really important for us to put this into context. I think that this conversation of like value and vision and success, etc., in the wider space is very dunyawi, and it should be, right? It's the dunya, no problem. However, if as a Muslim woman and a Muslim man, in a Muslim woman's case, I would caution her from using the dunya and dunya, what's this I'm thinking of? Like benchmarks, right? Benchmarks of success in terms of dunya. I would caution you from using that when it comes to your marriage. Why? Because marriage is half of your deen. Half of your deen, yeah? Not half your dunya, it's half of your deen. And the goal of marriage is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to provide you with a spouse that is a garment for you, and that the two of you will be blessed with a household, inshallah, children, and a whole legacy, right? Your deeds, gosh, oh my goodness. When I think of the short-sightedness that the rest of the world is operating under, when they see things only in material terms, when the only things that matter is consumer goods, is material things, is things that you can show off on social media, it breaks my heart, because people are legitimately sacrificing their legacy, sacrificing their genes, sacrificing their future, sacrificing their akhirah in order to have status in the dunya. So the reason why Khadija radiallahu anha was fine with submitting to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is because she was not a materialistic woman. She was not, her status or her confidence in herself, her sense of self was not tied to her status as a wealthy woman. Because when your status, your own sense of self, let me correct that. When your sense of self is tied to your status, I have a degree, I have a PhD, I make 6 figures, I work for who, Goldman Sachs, whatever the case may be. Your sense of self is tied to that. You will never be able to love or respect somebody who does not tick the same boxes as you do. But is that worth anything when it comes to the deen or in the sight of Allah? It is worth nothing in the sight of Allah. So this whole conversation about high value men used to make me laugh, because whenever people talked about high value men, they only ever talked about material things, his job, his status, how much money he makes. That was it. Never about faith, never about akhlaq, never about a vision that is akhirah focused, never about any of the things that, even character, right? Even character. Never about the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to prioritize. Because Allah, the Prophet ﷺ said, when a man of good deen and character comes to you, marry him, right? Not that he matches your status in society, or that he will look good on your Instagram, or any of these things, right? That people are obsessed with nowadays. So what I would say is, a woman may have all the money in the world, but she will remember and realize that my worth, my having this money, firstly, is from Allah. That's the first thing. right? It's not because I deserve it or whatever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to give that to me as a test, as a reward, whatever the case may be. But as a wife, my rank rises with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if I am a believing woman who is a wife. As a mother, that raises my rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, if I have money and I donate and I'm a charitable person, it raises my rank. But we don't think like that. We think of all these achievements in terms of what they mean in the dunya as if that's everything. But I digress. If a sister really, truly, yeah, go ahead, Sid. Go ahead.
But I want to add something. I'm so glad you mentioned contextualizing. So with my husband, when he said big vision, his vision wasn't material stuff. His vision was a legacy of Muslim children.
Yes,
And
mashallah.
That's what made me submit. I was like, wow, he wants Muslim kids and he wants to like raise the whole legacy of Muslim children. That is what I submitted to that vision. Like we never spoke about money. He actually didn't know how much money I made before we got married. And he learned after. But for me, that's what I mean by the bigger vision. The bigger vision in regards to your femininity or what's going to help you become a better wife. I think but I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And it's so true that usually as women, because of social media, we are focusing on what the man can give us in terms of dunya. And you're only going to be burnt out at the end of it.
100%. And, jazakAllahu khairan for giving that context. As a man, it is your responsibility to cultivate your vision. And your vision for your dunya and your akhirah, for you and your family. That's your responsibility. That's the burden of performance on you. So if you haven't started on that yet, then get to it, because a woman will sign up for that. The woman who understands the importance of marriage in terms of this deen, in terms of her life in this dunya, in terms of her akhirah, she'll sign up for that. And I do believe, I have faith that the deen and our commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is probably the only thing that is going to allow us to bridge the gap that we have right now between, women who have have money and have, these professional successes and finding a decent man. But that means that we have to stop focusing on the trappings of success and focus on, I'm going to get married for my deen. I'm actually going to marry somebody for deen. I'm not going to marry someone for dunya. I'm going to marry someone for deen. And I'm going to marry somebody with the right intention in order to be what Allah wants me to be as a wife and what Allah wants me to be as a mother. Because this man, who maybe doesn't have the degrees that you have, doesn't have the money that you have, or whatever the case may be, he could be the reason you have a child. Right? People I don't get it, right? Because especially when you speak sisters they want children, but only from a man who makes a certain amount of money. Like, what's that got to do with anything? Bruv, you're out here almost like tapped out at this point, okay? It's almost curtains for you, and your standard is still a dunya-based standard. No one is asking women to lower their standards when it comes to the things that Allah has said is our haqq, right? And what I mean by that, to be treated with respect, to have a believing husband, he protects and he provides to the very best of his ability. That's what Allah's baseline, right? The other stuff that we're talking about is most of it is dunya stuff, guys. Let's just be frank and let's just own that, okay? But my point is, you may cheat yourself out of the things that you truly want, love, companionship, and a family, because of this dunya stuff. And you'll just be left with the dunya stuff at the end of the day, which will not give you anything. It's not going to give you the love. It's not going to give you the companionship. It's not going to give you kids. And in the future, you just look back with regret. So we're talking about this because we want to avoid the next generation making the same mistake. Mariam, you wanted to jump in?
I wanted to add that for the young adults who want to get married and have these issues that are holding them back, the responsibility of the parents come in. Because if the boy is 19 and he wants to get married, but he doesn't have a job, let's say, he's doing he's in university and he wants to continue. So the parents say to the girl's family that, we are providing. You don't have to worry about that. So the parents have to be okay. Even the girl's parent, they know that the boy is nice, he's truthful, he's honest, he's on his deen, he is respectable, he has manners. So let's do it. Say Bismillah, do istikhara, do it. And the wealth will come. Like you said, you complete half of your deen. The wealth it will come, it will go. You cannot depend on it. You cannot wait for your daughter to get married just because the boy is not earning certain amount. Yes, you need some kind of security. So you also step in and say, okay, I'm going to provide for my daughter a little bit, but the boy's father takes responsibility. I'm going to be the provider.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them get married, let them have this halal relationship so that they don't go out and, you know, all those things, dunyawi things come in their mind. So it's a responsibility of the parents also.
Agreed.
That they put it in their kids while they're growing up. At 19, 18, you like a boy, come and tell me. You like a girl, come and tell me. My responsibility, I will pitch in. You don't have to worry about the finances. You finish your studies, both of you together, and then take it forward. The open conversation between the parents is very, very important.
Parents, I don't think we have a generation of parents now who pretend that their kids don't want to get married, or pretend that their kids don't see boys or girls. I don't think we're at that stage, but I agree with you, sis. I think Gen X, we need to be hooking up those early marriages for our kids, okay? I think definitely preparing the kids, you know, from a younger age. Talk about marriage, guys, right? Don't do this thing of focus on your studies, focus on your studies, focus on your studies, which is what the previous generation did, because they thought, you're going to focus on your studies, and then when you're 25, 26, we'll find you a nice boy, we'll find you a nice girl. But I agree with you, Mariam. I think parents definitely need to get more involved. We've had a lot of people on this channel who would say that their father does not want to get involved, and they basically got their hands off approach. And I don't think that that is the best approach. I think if the child, like you said, if they want to make a go of it, it's from a good family. He's a nice boy, she's a nice girl. Bismillah, let's do it and support them. You know, Rosalean, what's your perspective on early marriage? Is it a yes or a no?
Oh, yes. And it's so funny you mentioned this. I was having a conversation with my sons and my daughters earlier. My daughters are like 5, 6. My son is 10. And we talk about marriage. I was like, girls, like, you know, how to be a wife. Like, you're going to have to, you know, learn how to nurture your home and learn how to cook, clean, sew. Like, my daughters are learning how to sew now. My son is a responsible man in the home. And I always tell him, look, when you're a husband, when you're a father, you're going to be doing things like this. So always instill it in them that they're going to get married young. I pray, inshallah, my children get married when they're 16. So I'm hoping.
16. Mashallah. Let us know how it goes, okay? Anybody want some of Rosalean's kids, then just get in touch. But my kids cringe. They think it's so cringe. But I talk to my friends and I say, so who have you got? Okay, well, I've got Hamza. He's this age. I got the... and we laugh about it, but we laugh about it, but like they know that look, I'm looking for the nice girls and nice boys, because I don't want my kids on a dating app. I don't want my kids going on a matrimonial site. I don't want them to be 27 out in the source trying to find a decent girl. Say, Mom, there's no girls out there. The girls out there are crazy, you know, which is the conversation, right?
Exactly. And I wanted to add something as well about risk. I know we were talking about it, about when women marry for a man that doesn't have that much money. Like, I want to give testimony to, like, when I met my husband, like, mashallah, he just had liquidated his business, and he was in a situation where he's trying to figure out where he wanted to go. And I was in the same position. We're trying to make money. And then now, alhamdulillah, 4 years in, my husband has surpassed me in wealth. Like, he surpassed me in wealth. He has his own company. He's like, he's a business owner now. He's in his element. But I want ladies to realize is that if you think you're settling, you're not settling. If the man is honest, if the man is God-fearing, if the man values you as a woman and wants to honor you as a wife, if the man is saying to you, I want to marry you, don't think you're settling. Because men nowadays, most men, I don't know, they would rather not marry you and would rather just
100%, sis. 100%.
And like, marry you, divorce you, marry you, divorce you. And I see a lot in the I've heard about it a lot in the Muslim community. And I want you to understand this: when a man says, I want to marry you, he's honoring you. He's saying, I'm willing to protect and provide you. I'm willing to invest my resources into you. Come be mine. So take that as, wow, I'm not settling, I'm upgrading.
Yeah, upgrading for real. Even if, like you said, you know, there are other aspects that are not ticked off. Understand, and I think, I don't know whether this is a bad thing to say, because so many people are actually out here, boys and girls, saying, I can't be bothered. I don't want to get married. I'm not interested in marriage, right? Right. The boys are saying these girls are crazy, they're all gold diggers, I don't want to spend money on them, I don't want to have to work hard and then, you know, win this girl and she won't even cook and clean. So there's the boys complaining, and then the girls are like, look, I have a great life, you know, I got my degree, I'm working, I'm educated, I have a great fantastic family, you know, I travel with my friends, like why would I get married? Like what's the point? This is legit where we are at. Yeah, this is the kind of things that I'm hearing from young people. And I think, again, your status before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I had a conversation with a friend actually who she questioned whether getting married is an achievement or not, right? Should you see getting married as an achievement or not? Now, I have my opinion on it, but I'd love to hear what you think. How would you answer that question? Do you think getting married is an achievement, or yeah, if you're married, great. If you're not married, great. Like, no big deal. It's not something to congratulate you about or make a big deal about.
I think it's a massive achievement, because you're choosing to go into a situation where you're going to be challenged, where someone's going to see the real you, because we all put on a fake persona online. Someone's going to see the real you, and you're going to be like confronted with who you are. And if you're able to hold it down, I think that's a massive achievement. It reminds me of like the hadith where a woman, if she's a wife that pleases her husband, fast. I'm here.
It's the Matrix. You need to bring the hadith. It's very important.
So the hadith of the wife who pleases her husband, prays, fast, there's all the obligations of Islam. She enters Jannah through any door. Isn't that pure success? I think that's a massive achievement.
That's a mindset shift that if we could shift, it would make a huge difference into how we perceive ourselves, right? Go on, Mariam. What do you think marriage is an achievement? Yes or no?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, it's an achievement because, like Rosalean said, it's sacrifice, it's compromise, it's facing your own self, putting your ego aside, learning about yourself, learning about another human being that you're living, and also becoming a role model for the generations to come. I will hold back to what you said previously. The girls and the boys are not ready to get married because they don't have role models. If there's a lack of role model in our Muslim communities, where the marriages in their own homes, there's lack of the sukoon which the marriage promises. There's lack,
you know what, sis? I have to say, you know, this is even from kids who come from fantastic homes. Like, and I think that this is the result of social media, because I know how many girls have an opinion of men. They think men are untrustworthy, men are oppressive, men are this, men are that. They have a great relationship with their dad. They have great brothers. You know, I know girls from stable, loving homes. Their parents have been together forever. And they still say, and that's the reason why they say, like, why would I leave? Like, why should I go anywhere? Like, you know, I've got my family. My mom still cooks for me. You know, I'm sweet. Why would I, you know, want to get married? So I think you're right. There are some who lack role models, but I think it's a lot of the unlearning that we need to do, right? About how life is supposed to work. We're still, and we will remain, inshallah, in the Islamic tradition, in the religious tradition of once you are grown, you get responsibility in the next stage of your life, and that is to marry and have your own family, and you move forward that way. That is how the next generation is nurtured. Obviously, today's society is not about that at all, because everything is about individualism and hedonism and your individual happiness and a blah, blah. Go on, Rosalean.
So yeah, just like you mentioned about social media has created the degeneracy of the world, like of the Western world. The degeneracy now, it's all hedonism, whatever. But what I would say to you is, just like you teach your kids about going to school and getting education, teach your kids that marriage is an obligation. I would say that would solve a lot of problems, because I didn't enter my marriage wanting to be loved. I love myself. I like myself. I married it out of duty. That I know that when I get married, I'm raising the next generation. That's a duty I have upon myself. And this is what gets rid of individualism. When you realize you have a duty to prepare the next generation to be, right? It's a legacy you're leaving behind. So for me, when I met my husband, I was like, this is a duty, like it's an obligation to please Allah, to raise Muslim kids, because it's dying out. Like, we're being affected by social media, being affected by all this immoral content, that it's our duty now. And this is where Prophet said, enjoying the good, forbid the evil. This is part of it. Make marriage an obligation. Just like you say to your kids, go to school, get a job, get married.
Yes.
That's
yes.
the conversation.
We have to go back to the old days. You know, the old days, the aunties were like, so when are you getting married? You're still not married? I know a nice boy. Mariam, do you think we need to swing the pendulum back to be the old aunties who are like always on the girls' cases to say, what is it? You're still not married? Or is there a balance here?
Yes, we have to, but we have to ask the boys as well, not just the girls.
Yes, agreed.
Tell the boys. That's another way you will help him to man up. That he needs to come out of his room, of his games, and take responsibility.
No, sis, okay, you wait, whoa, hell, you're not going to move forward from this point. We need to talk about this, okay? Because what you said is so on point. Our girls don't know how to keep house because they're on their phones or out and about doing their thing. And our boys don't know how to be in the world because they're online all the time, because they're on Twitch, because they're on the stream, because they're on the PlayStation. SubhanAllah. What do we do?
It's a tough question because it's reality. We are getting sucked up more and more. So as a family, we have to limit the screen time, set boundaries, like firm but healthy boundaries. And okay, they can have their PlayStation, they can have that. But like I said earlier, these are your responsibilities. You have to do this. You're living in the house.
Yes.
Where humans live. It's not a hotel.
Yes.
You have to pitch in. And everybody needs to do their job. And that's for the house chores. But sitting, talking, sit in one room. Even if they are playing with on iPad or something, sit in one room, have healthy conversations. So you know what your son and your daughter is doing. Right now, they are all in their own rooms. That is really, really scary. Yes, they can be in their own rooms. Go, relax, have downtime time, but make your living rooms a place where the whole family comes in. They sit together, they eat together, they laugh, they know what's happening. So the building on family time, that's what I'm trying to say. That is missing because the father's working late. The mom is not present. She's stuck with her own thoughts, her own things. She wants to do so many things she's not able to do. I'm just creating a hypothetical situation. It's just a generalized version. Small kids, big kids. I know it gets chaotic, but we are family. You have to learn how to be together with everyone of different ages. You cannot be around your own age.
Yeah.
So you have to sit with all the people and make the weekends, go out. Go out in nature, spend time, cook together. Ask your boys to come together and cook. The girls and the fathers can have a cooking meal time. They do things together. So that bonding has to be there. The one-on-one time with your kids, that is very important. And this is what something is missing because everything is like a click of a button. It's very accessible. Life is not a click of a button or scroll. You have to face the challenges. And life is going to be challenging. Marriage is going to be challenging. It's not an easy road. You have to go up and down. But you have to also know how to come up when you go down.
jazakAllahu khairan, sis. I love the way we started this talking about, successful women making good wives. And, we've come all the way here. I think everything you've said, I hope people will go back and listen to this whole thing again, this whole stream again and take notes. But I agree with you. I think being more mindful and more purpose driven with our parenting will inshallah help the next generation to at least maybe avoid some of the mistakes that were made, or maybe just protect them from making worse mistakes, right? I definitely think that, we are okay with making sacrifices in almost everything else. To lose weight, to run a marathon, to make 10K a month, to make 100K, to get a master's, to get a PhD. We are okay with sacrificing. We're okay with sacrificing to fast Ramadan. We're okay with fasting to pray Hajj. But dare talk about sacrificing to preserve a family home. Now you are all of the bad things. You're promoting abuse, you're doing this, you're victim, all of this stuff. And I just think, but is that not worth fighting for? Is that not worth preserving? Is that not worth sacrificing for? I don't get it. Rosalean, what say you?
It's so true. And I want to touch on what Mariam said about bonding as well. A great way to bond as well is how you problem solve. And I do this a lot with my children. Like when they're fighting, I'm like, okay, guys, how do you want to solve the problem? And with my son, he's 10. He wakes up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. He goes to school by 6. He's back home at 6 p.m. And I know it's like, some people are like, oh my God, you're like, this is so much. But a man has to go through challenges in order to grow as a man. And mashallah, my son had straight A's in his exam, despite the fact that he has such a heavy schedule. And I believe the more you put your kids in challenges, the more you challenge your children, the more they're going to grow and develop as human beings. This is what you need. You need to be challenged in order to grow and develop and to become the best version of yourself. And I think in the age of social media and games, the kids are not being challenged. It's so easy to play a game and like win a level and get to the next level and get that dopamine. So again, like, right. And as us, like, when we talk about challenging our kids, the first thing that comes to mind is abuse and trauma. No, it's not. Because you are the way you are. Me and you, Naima, we are the way we are. And Mariam, you are the way you are. Because we were challenged as kids. I was bullied, but I appreciate the bullying, because now I'm a better human being. Like, I'm not in a bad way. Like, I know I should have got bullied, but I appreciate that I went through that. I'm grateful for the experience, because now the person I am, I can handle challenges. So we have to, like, obviously not in a traumatic way, challenge your kids, but you have to make them problem solvers. You have to give them tasks during the day. Like for my son, he doesn't have breakfast until he's done his chores. He doesn't have breakfast. So listen, did you earn your breakfast today? Because you're a man. Did you earn it?
Oh gosh.
You earn food on your plate. And he was like, no, Mom, I didn't. Okay, what do you do? I need to go and feed the dogs. I need to go and clean the garden. Okay, do that and then come back. And this is what helps him grow as a man. Same with my daughters. What did you do today? Did you earn your breakfast? I say the same thing to my daughter. Did you earn your breakfast? No, Mommy, go read your Quran, because I do Quran in the morning, brush up, tidy your rooms, and then come and eat. So you always have to challenge your kids so they don't fall for like social media, the hype of social media and games.
This is subhanAllah. Did you earn your breakfast today? I'm going to use that one. But, you know, just again, you know, going back to the issue of sort of parenting and mothering and, you know, being a successful woman in terms of professional, etc. You know, I think that there is definitely more we need to have more conversations about how mothering was done in previous generations, right? And the fact that as human beings, we haven't changed much. Right? In our general makeup, we haven't changed. We still learn things at the same rate as we pretty much always did. Like to talk, for example. Kids don't start talking earlier now than they did 100 years ago. They have the same slow development, right? But the rest of the world has sped up. Everything else is fast. So it's kind of like we expect everything to be fast. Relationships are fast. You know, children should grow up quickly. You know, everything should happen fast. And I think that, I don't know, I'm hoping 2023 will give me some answers, but part of me thinks that a reason, something that we can all try to do is slow down when it comes to our families. If we could somehow slow down time within the home and not be at the same pace as we are when we're like outside in work and school and all of that, you know, there's that going on. But as a family and with our children, with our spouses, if there was a way that we could slow down and honor the time, right, that it takes to build what we're trying to build. Mariam, what do you think of that?
I love that. And actually, I'm taking a break from social media with the same intention right now, that I wanted to slow down, as I could see that, you know, it's affecting my family. Yes, the work is nice and everything, but keeping yourself in check is very hard. And when the results come in, and then you have to apply it. So I wanted to end the year with slowing down and just being present with my kids, with my husband, with myself, because you need it. I need to recharge myself so that I can be there for my husband and my kids. So giving myself that permission to slow down. Yes, the work is there, the studies are there, everything is there. But if me as a woman of the house is not nourished, is not taken care of by myself, my whole home will become a house. It will just become walls. That peace, that barakah from the home, that will go away. So for me to slow down, it's actually me being productive. This is what I have been reflecting on this past 2 weeks, and this is what I want to go in in 2023 that me, my husband, my kids, they come first, because dunya is just going very fast paced and it's getting very scary every day. We have to be realistic. So how can I be there for all of them and protect my family? This is what I'm going in with the mindset in 2023.
Well, mashallah, it seems like it's a season of Muslim bosses doing things slightly differently, mashallah. Rosalean, let's close out with you telling us how do you like manage the fast pace of being an entrepreneur, being a coach, being boom, 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 and then the slow work of parenting and loving on your husband.
Okay, so I have days. So Monday, I am the irresponsible teenager. That's what I like to call it. I have an identity where basically I just get massages, I go to the beach, and I'm like, I don't mother. And then obviously during the time when I'm at home, I'm mothering, but in my mind, I'm like, this is me time. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm the CEO, I'm the businesswoman from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then after that, I'm the mother and the wife. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm a mother and a wife. When it comes to my husband, the first thing I do as soon as I finish my work is I get dressed up, I put my lipstick on, I make myself look very sexy for him. I make sure I'm the only thing that he's attracted to when he comes home. I smell nice, and I do that on purpose because I know that when I do that, he's just going to want to come home even more, right? And I make it known to him that I appreciate him as soon as he enters the door. I hug him, I smile at him, and then I leave him be. Like, I'm not trying to tell him 100 things. I leave him be.
Now, why do you do that? Don't you have stuff that you want to share with your husband? Don't you want to offload on him?
No,
why do you leave him be?
I've got girlfriends for that. I have women for that. I have friends for that to share with them. But for my husband, I give him his me time. Like, he needs me time. And whenever he comes down, we spend time as a family. We talk, we banter. We may watch some things, like some Islamic program. We'll do things together. So we're always like, the best way I can explain to you is that we're bobbing and weaving in and out throughout the whole day of like different identities. But my goal in my relationship is like, I love being a mom and a wife. I actually love it more than being a businesswoman. I genuinely do this business because I have a passion for it. Like, I really want to change mindsets, but I will choose being a mom and a wife all day, every day, right? And then secondly, for me, it's like, I have support. I don't feel guilty hiring support. I don't feel guilty having a nanny, having a chef, having a driver. I make time for that. I tell myself, I want this, I'm going to get it. And I don't feel guilty about that. I have conversation with my husband. My husband's like, yeah, if it feels good for you, do it. But that's for me to be the best version of myself. And I know that when my plate is full, I'm not the best version of myself. So this is basically how I interweave between being a CEO and a wife and a mom. And then lastly, I always say, I get to do this. This is like the magic sentence. I get to do this. Like, whenever you're feeling frustrated, just remind yourself, you get to do this. This is your choice.
Oh, you know, I love that. And I'm going to come to you, Mariam, inshallah. I just wanted to say that, you know, there are lots of things you can outsource, right? Within life. Lots of things you can outsource within your business. We use outsourcing all the time in our businesses. In the house, there will be things that you feel okay with outsourcing. Certainly deep clean of the house, I'm okay with outsourcing that, you know, so whether it's, you know, preparing meals in advance, whether it's cleaning, whether it's a driver, whether it's a carpool, whether it's tutors, Quran tutors, a lot of us outsource, you know, our Quran education if we're not confident, or Arabic or French or whatever it is your kids are learning. But there's certain things you can't outsource. And I remember a few other speakers saying this to sisters, to say, don't outsource being a wife and don't outsource being a mother, because those two, firstly, they're too important for you to outsource them. They're like, if you're looking at your family as a project, they are the key projects that will determine your success in this area, like hands down. So being the one that your husband is attracted to, don't outsource that, sis, right? Don't do it. You know, being the one that, you know, your husband can't wait to see, don't outsource that either, you know, knowingly or unknowingly. Take ownership of that part of your role. Similarly with your children, spending quality time, don't outsource that. Discipline, don't outsource that. You know, there's certain things that that is the 20-80, isn't it? It's the Pareto's rule. You put in that 20%, it brings 80% of the result. That's, I think, how we need to operate. So all the sisters out there who are juggling lots of plates, you know, take advice from these sisters, from us on this panel. You know, working on our intention, on our priorities, making it do what it do, you know, making it work how it works, inshallah, and bringing the very best of your success to your home and your family, and whatever challenges that come with your success, knowing how to just compartmentalize and be able to get the best out of your wife, mother role, inshallah. Mariam, tell us where we can find you, inshallah. Since you're taking a social media break, does that mean you're not taking on any clients? What's going on?
No, I'll be back, inshallah. Inshallah, I'll be back in a day or two, inshallah. And yes,
okay, cool.
They can contact me on Instagram. My main profile is on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Okay. But I am taking on clients as the new year is starting. I'm taking on one-on-one clients, but very limited availability because I want to focus more on my family. My membership is still on Thriving Wife Circle. That is continuing. I've purposely made it very affordable because we are living in a challenging time. So I wanted more sisters to have access to me and work, in becoming a thriving wife. But for more intensive, that's where the one-on-one comes in. So I'm taking both of the clients for both of them, inshallah, and I'll be back soon, inshallah. In a day or two, I'll be back soon, inshallah.
Oh, inshallah. Okay, so it's not a long-term thing, alhamdulillah. And you're Mariam Arafat on both channels, yes?
Yes, Mariam Arafat.
Yes. And Rosalean, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Rosalean Batool. I'm currently running an 8-week program where you can awaken your femininity, cultivate your femininity, so you can be the best version of yourself. And we're starting the next program on the 25th of January. So Rosalean Batool on Instagram.
Fantastic. And before we go, guys, there's just a quick soundbite here. We've got a question from one of our VIPs. Guys, if you want to upgrade to be a VIP and join us here in Zoom so we can see all your comments and the speakers can see your comments too, then just click the link in the emails that you've been getting, inshallah, and it will be in the description of the video as well. But the VIP member says, does being submissive all the time not build resentment? And this is actually a brother asking from the perspective of a woman, right? Mm-hmm. So his question is basically, does being submissive all the time, doesn't that build resentment? So do you want to just give some perspective on that? I mean, I'm not sure what all the time means, but how would you answer that question?
So with submission, I guess it's what you define as submission. For women, submission, they think, believe, means I have no opinion. I just have to shut up and put up. That's not submission. That's oppression. So, or tyrannical oppression or being forced. Submission is I express my opinion, but then I leave the decision to my husband. So I'm not going to try and mother him. So an example is there's a package, a DHL package that needs to be delivered. And you're constantly asking, have you done it? Have you done it? Have you done it? Mm-hmm. Right? Or you're constantly mothering him, trying to figure out if he's done it. You're not submitting to his masculinity. Or if you give your opinion that, okay, I think we should have chicken. And he's like, no, I want beef. Okay, I'll make beef. It's just very simple. It's like you're trying to like limit how many decisions you make in the relationship so that the masculine role can take over. So when it leads to resentment, it's usually because you feel like you haven't expressed yourself, or you feel like you're not good enough, or you're looking for validation from your husband, but you can only ever validate yourself. So that will go back to a self-worth issue. If you're feeling resentment towards submitting to what your husband says, or like if he says to you can't go out. Like how many women will argue with their husband, like, what do you mean I can't go out? Like or asking for permission, like telling your husband, I'm going to go out to the shops, like letting him know. A lot of women have an issue with that. Like they will think they're being oppressed. That's not oppression, that's just respect. So if you are feeling resentment, I would say that maybe there's a feeling of lack of validation within yourself, and you're feeling like you're validating your husband, but you're not getting the validation yourself. So you would have to work on your self-worth issues.
Very interesting perspective. Mariam, what say you?
I agree with Sister Rosalean 100%. And I would say that if the resentment is coming up, that means that she needs to do the work on herself. Why is it coming up? What's the trigger? And because you can very comfortably agree to disagree but having a fight.
That's important.
That needs confidence. That needs an immense amount of self-awareness within you. Because yes, you have to submit. You can agree to everything, but you don't have to. If you don't agree to it, just say, I'm not comfortable with this, but I respect your decision. And that takes confidence.
It does. It definitely does. Guys, do you have 5 minutes? Because I want to, if you don't, I appreciate your time. I know I've kept you way longer than I said I would, but do you have 5 minutes?
Yes, yes.
I want to show you some slides that I used at a workshop that I did, which was, mashallah, it was really eye-opening, and I think that the audience will enjoy it and benefit from it, inshallah. So this is Surah Nisa, verse 34. Men are the caretakers of women, as men have been provisioned by Allah over women and tasked with supporting them financially. And righteous women are devoutly obedient, and when alone, protective of what Allah has entrusted them with. Okay, so the conversation was about the word obedient, right? Because as we said at the beginning, and we have been saying that, a lot of women today struggle with the aspect of being obedient or submissive, etc., right? So I wanted to have a little conversation about the word obedient, and hopefully get people thinking maybe differently about the whole concept, right? So the first exercise is for everybody in the chat. When you see the word obedient, just type in the chat what comes up for you. Do you feel great? Do you feel neutral? Do you feel bad? Do you feel anything at all? Put in the chat what the word obedient means to you and what it makes you feel. When I did this exercise in London at a workshop in London, we had some really interesting responses. We had people saying that, they resent this word, or their mother always used to use the word, or, there are different associations that people make with words, and those associations are very powerful, right? So, see, exactly. Thank you, sis, for being honest. She says, my first reaction is to rebel, right? Another sister says, not so great. I'm completely submissive, but I understand it has negative associations, right? Another sis says, I feel honored, but at first, as a new revert, I was triggered, right? The other sister says it would depend on the situation, right? In YouTube, people are saying that they feel good, they feel neutral, obedience upon good is ibadah, neutral, conflicted. So I want a doormat. Okay, rebel, powerless, obliged. Great. Okay, so yeah, and another sister says, yes, I would rebel too. First reaction is neutral. If I were a woman, then I would think of it as slavery, right? So this is interesting, right? So there's a little exercise that we did. So here's the word obedient. We've all had a chance to respond. Now, let's look at the synonyms for the word obedient. And let's play some word association with the synonyms, right? So a synonym obviously is a word that means the same thing. You'll find it in the thesaurus. So obedient means submissive, respectful, faithful, dutiful, willing, attentive, agreeable, obliging, well-trained. We like that one. Loyal, right? How do you feel about these words? Do any of them trigger you in a negative way? Do any of them feel more positive? Do any of them make you feel more relaxed? Let me know in the chat. I'd like to see, just take a temperature of the room. Sis says, I love the word agreeable. God consciousness. Right? Obedience is really important in Islam. People saying, what have I got here? Not triggered. I feel better. Nope, not triggered. Definitely more positive. I like faithful, attentive, and submissive. They feel good. Interesting. Faithful is positive. Interesting. Is that not so interesting? I like agreeable. Yeah, we like agreeable. Agreeable is good. A lot of people like agreeable, mashallah. All of them are very positive, right? So, and this one says, as a man, it's pretty spot on. All of them are very positive, right? So guys, these are just synonyms, right? So we're literally just talking about words and what those words mean. Sister that she likes respectful. So check this out. In our day and age, a lot of people push back on the word obedient, and especially obedient wife, right? I remember somebody saying, like, if I have to obedient to him, does that also mean he has to obey me? Like, if I have to obey him, does that mean he also has to obey me? So that's kind of where we are with, in some aspects of the community, right? But if as we've seen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us the guidance And we love to quote Ar-Rijal Qawamun ala Nisa because we love to be provided for by our menfolk. We love to be protected by our menfolk. That's the first part of the ayah. The second part of the ayah is about our obedience and our chastity. So it makes sense that we may want to get comfortable with the word obedient, right? So we've gone through the synonyms, mashallah. We've seen that there are other ways of saying the same thing that make us feel good. Now let's look at the antonyms. Let's look at the opposite. For those of you who are still like, I don't want to be obedient, are you comfortable with being rebellious, disrespectful, unfaithful, wayward, unwilling, dismissive, disobedient, disagreeable, unobliging, that should be, disorderly, and disloyal? For those of you whose daughters give you pushback and say, I don't want to be no one's obedient wife, ask her, are you happy with being one of these? Would you prefer to be wayward, rebellious, disloyal, disagreeable, dismissive? And ask your sons, would you like a wife who's disrespectful, disobedient, unwilling? And I think that this really kind of, tell me what's coming up for you. So everybody's saying, nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Definitely changes the lens from which we view obedient. Alhamdulillah, definitely not. Sisters, do you want to chime in? What do you think of that exercise?
It actually makes you realize how society has been governed by words. Like actually the society is going towards being disobedient, disorderly, disloyal, and rebellious simply by everything we're seeing and consuming. And it's just like, it's blown my mind, like how it's so triggered by a word. It's simply a word. But we're not looking at the connotation of it that you mentioned, like we want to be provided for, but the consequence, the effect of that is for you to be faithful, loyal, agreeable, submissive, all those good things. So yeah, this was interesting.
Yeah. What about you, Mariam?
Very interesting exercise, and I loved it because it opened up a lot of things. You know, this is what self-awareness is. You really become aware of what that word is a trigger for you. And then you go deeper in it and try to understand that, is it the society that's telling you, or that's something that you have learned while you were growing up? And words matter a lot. So choosing the words for yourself, saying it, your self-talk as well, plays a very, very important role. Maybe you've picked up this word along the way and you have not really understood what it means. But subhanAllah, this is a really, really eye-opening exercise. jazakAllahu khair.
You guys are free to use it if you find it useful, inshallah. But yeah, I think playing with those words, and a reason we often will have this conversation about how women are coming to the work of being a Muslim wife is because I think it is our fitrah that is being played with here. Of course, I'm not saying all Muslim men are protectors and providers and that they're in their masculine and they're in their fitrah. Of course not. But I think it's society-wide, the push to detaching women from their fitrah is much stronger and has been more successful. Would you agree?
Definitely. I 100% agree with that. Like, okay, I understand there's exception to the rules. Because of social media, the exception has become the rule. And I was thinking that, okay, because the exception is being portrayed that men are abusive. I would say like 0.01% of men are abusive. I would say that. The majority of men are not abusive. But it's because of the way we perceive ourselves. If you perceive yourself as a victim, you are going to attract a person who's a persecutor or a rescuer. You're going to attract someone who's going to be abusive towards you because you're in that victim state. And this is what happens with words, that we get ourselves into a victim state and tell ourselves that men are bad, men are trash. What you're saying really is, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. And when you go into that mode and you start seeing words like obedient, submissive, your natural fitrah is you want to do that because when you pray to Allah, you're obeying Him. You're submitting to Him, right? But just when it comes to a man, and that's where the breakup, where they're breaking up the families through social media, through the TV, where they're making you think that being a man is bad, is toxic, and being a powerful, strong woman is better. But we all know where that goes. Like, look at, I've seen so many women in their late 40s who are like, I wish I just didn't do this. I wish I got married. I wish I had children and the career. I wish I did it all back then.
And I think just on that point, the idea that, I think the underlying idea is that women are better than men, actually, that women are more evolved, are, socially, we are safer, we create societies that are better, etc., blah, 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 right? And that a woman can do anything that a man can do, right? And if you don't have a man, you can still do all of the things. And now they do, right? They get their education, they get their job, they buy their own house, they buy their own car, they get pregnant, they have a child, right? I don't need a man. And especially now that they're actually moving towards flipping incubating babies in a factory. Like, what is this cloud world that we live in? So not only do you not need a man to get pregnant, you don't even need a woman to have a baby. It's like just pluck it off the tree. Anyway, Mariam, did you want to give some last words on that, inshallah, before we wrap up? I must let you go now.
I would say that a marriage is a true blessing. Indeed, there is so much of blessing in the contract of nikah, only if we understand. And not to get sucked up with learning from social media. Learn from your deen. Learn, read, and implement. Because only learning is not that's the first step. Implementing, practicing it every day, in and out. It's hard because you will be pushed back, you will have challenges, but sticking to it, having a purpose that, yes, Jannah is your eternal goal. And who you want there, your spouse, your kids, your family, having a clear-cut goal, what you want, learning from the deen, implementing, and marriages are blessed, but it takes work.
Yeah, mashallah.
So be ready to do it.
Be ready to do the work, guys, just like we're ready to do the work with everything else. Okay, barakallahu feekum, sisters. Once again, jazakAllahu khair. Thank you so much for giving us so much of your precious time. Apologize to your families for us, please. Thank your husbands. Thank the kids. Tell them thank you for lending mommy to us for 2 hours, inshallah. Guys, follow these ladies on social media. Pop your comments in the chat and be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 50K and we can do it, but only if you guys help. VIPs, we love you. jazakAllahu khairan for your fantastic support and your wonderful comments. We will see you in the next session, which I believe starts at, I will tell you in a minute. There's a long stream that starts at 5 p.m. And that one is going to take us all the way. We've got 4 talks. So we've got how can reverts get married at 5, and then how to find a spouse with Dr. Sharifa Carlo at 6. Then we have the brothers panel, how a Muslim man prepares for marriage, which is at 7. Then we have the sisters panel, how Muslim women prepare for marriage, at 8, inshallah. So we will see you for the long stream, the evening stream, later on today, inshallah. In the meantime, have a blessed day and we'll see you guys later. Thumbs up. Salaam alaikum.